Hello again, and welcome to the channel. I am going to do an immediate follow-up, and this will be my first immediate follow-up to content that I created. But I wanted to say something on the dynamics between men and women in the modern era, as it is becoming kind of a problem to, get a girl for some of you fine young gentlemen out there. And whether it's, your own social stipulations, your own moral stipulations, your own social anxieties. There are a myriad of reasons as to why you cannot get a date in the current year. But of all of them, I never thought political would be a thing. I never thought religious would be a thing. I thought people were actually tolerant. But it is now current year, and tolerance is tolerating bigots, apparently. So, today what I really want to go over is why I think it's so rough out there. And to me, it has to do with women's standards. You see this meme floating around a couple of years ago, or me specifically. I saw this meme floating around years ago of what men want from women, or what men think of women versus what women think of men on OkCupid.com. And the men had a nice, much more rounded average. There was a lot more of men wanting all types of women, and usually they would want something that's a little more attainable. Some of you guys out there were some thrill seekers who wanted some of the lower tier, and then some dudes were just like, no, I'm the greatest, and therefore I deserve the greatest. And so it there's a chart that rounds out very nicely. And then there is the chart of what women, or what kind of man a woman wants. And oh my god, it's just, most women want a 10 out of 10, and it declines from there. And to those of you who want, between like a 9 and a 5, ladies out there, you have attainable, achievable standards. And yeah, the girls who want lower guys, you are doing it to save the human race. But for me, what I find to be really funny is this whole concept of desire, and how women seem to only want the best, and men will kind of like settle, which is okay, which is not something that I think is bad. However, I think that it's really funny that women don't want to settle for a lower status male, whereas men would settle for a lower status lady. And I think it's because women have entirely way too high standards of themselves. They view themselves as, gods. There's so much music out there that it's all about being a woman, and women are the best, and women are goddesses, you're goddesses. Like, I'm impressed Beyonce doesn't call her fans goddesses, because that's what I think most fucking women who listen to that kind of shit think of themselves, is that they're goddesses, and that they're all powerful, and that they can literally do anything, when it's really not true. And the more women realize this, the more they will be happy with themselves, that they can't do everything. You can't have a career and have a family. That's why certain men fail at it. It's because they're so career focused that they don't even pay attention to their fucking family. It's like, I looked into my baby's eyes for the first time, and I'm going back to work. For those guys, that's how it is. And women seem to be torn between, wanting a career and wanting a family, and wanting to be a strong, empowered female. But you can't have it all, is really what I'm getting with this. And I think there is a lot that women need to own up to in this regard, that I find that men don't already acknowledge. When we talk about the current year, there's this term toxic masculinity that I think has honestly frightened a lot of young men out there who could have been dating, could have been getting laid, could have been laying pipe, and instead they are afraid to talk to women now because of the social stigmas around what used to be just gender relations. You know, a guy hitting on a girl used to not be toxic masculinity. That used to just be normal. And to me, I think that the whole social engineering of the modern left has really destroyed gender relations in this country. I mean, I was a young guy when this shit was starting up, and I'm not going to blame my situation on it. I think a lot of it is just social anxiety from my end. But when I finally got a girlfriend, it was like, wow, everything is just like, oh, it's great, you know? Don't have to worry anymore about fucking entering the dating scene. And if you're a young guy out there, you should really be focused on that kind of shit. You know, just trying to get a girlfriend, and if you really like her and she really likes you, then don't worry about what if this doesn't work. Just make it work and you'll be fine. But on the broader issues, I think that the modern left the left has destroyed gender relations in this country, and it's with terms like toxic masculinity. It is with shit like the Me Too movement, which is just social justice going fucking for the reins of power, as they're typically known to do. And I don't really want to blame it all on them, but, you know, women do have to shoulder a lot of the burden in this regard for having such a high opinion of themselves that they do all this kind of crazy shit, you know, where they're trying to get the alpha male while trying to be powerful CEO, super women bosses, when they should just focus on one or the other, having a family or having a career. You know, I know certain women in my life who are career-oriented, had no kids, only got married, and they're fine with it, even though subliminally and subtextually they're kind of not. But, you know, it's not really my place or anyone's place to tell that person what to do with their life. It's just the problem that is shown through the idea of the modern woman. So, this idea of the modern woman, I think, was created around, like, I don't know, the mid-90s, where there are a lot of women who are just becoming CEOs and climbing the corporate ladder and, you know, getting to the state in their lives where they think they can have it all. And because they're doing it all, they're kind of just doing it half-assedly because, oh, great, you know, I have this other thing to take care of. And instead, what they should be doing is they should be focusing on just one thing at a time. You know, and instead, they have been empowered by third-wave feminism and now intersectionality to take the reins of power. Because the whole goal of intersectionality is to destroy the straight white male quote-unquote patriarchy, which to me is just fucking stupid. You know, it's all based on population demographics, and yet these people want 50% you know, representation in everything, which is physically not possible. And if you think it's possible, you're fucking stupid, and you're lifting up people with zero experience to basically shoot companies and governments and positions of power straight into the fucking dumpster. And, you know, what is the goal here? Representation? Well, representation doesn't even matter. It really doesn't. This whole idea of representation is just a fucking fluke. And when you really think about it, what does representation do? It just, oh, you know, your workplace is more colorful, but these people all think the same and do the same, and they're not really different. You know, to me, the whole idea of diversity is, you know, differing opinions rather than just differing people. You know, when I say I want diversity, I want different things. I don't want to look at diversity. I want to experience diversity. I want to experience something that is different from my norm. And looking at other people is not really diverse. That is the, you know, that is the metropolitan kind of idea of diverse or cosmopolitan, where they think that because you look different, therefore you are different, which in itself is the soft bigotry of low expectations. It's a kind of subtle racism. And I don't really like talking about racism because I don't think it matters. But back on the actual point, I do think that overall social justice did kill gender relations between men and women only really in the younger ages. I don't think this is a big problem with like Gen Xers and boomers and silenters, if they're even single out there. But to me, it's a millennial problem. It's a Gen Z problem that we're going to have to really address at some point, because, you know, the birth rates can only decline so much before people realize, hey, we're not actually, you know, reproducing and having meaningful relationships. We're instead just trying to wave our freak flags and not get anything done and you know, run around like we're still in our 20s forever. And at some point, women are going to have to realize that they need to lower their standards, because if they don't lower their standards, they'll be an 80-year-old cat lady by the time they really regret anything. And that's not good for society. That's not good for the human race to not have gender relations be good. You know, it's not good to have young men, like, just disaffected with society because they can't find a date or they can't have sex or anything like that. And I think young women need to realize that this is also their problem, that it's not good for them to just say fuck men and be done with it. You know, especially if you're still straight, like, you're gonna have to have sex at some point, sugar tits. So yeah, with all that said, women, it's time to lower your standards. I know it's really bad out there, but you'll find a guy you like if you just lower your standards. And I think that could solve a lot of these problems. But again, it also comes down to ideology. We need to defeat intersectionality if we're ever going to have good gender relations. This is just a fact of life. We need to destroy things like Title IX laws, where girls can accuse guys of rape based on no real hard evidence and shit like that. We need to protect each other, and we need to have meaningful relationships in order to propagate the human race. Because if we don't, we'll be completely just gone as a species and probably taken over by machines. And so to women out there who don't want to end up as cat ladies in their 80s, all I have to say is tread lightly, because you're going down that road.